We left off yesterday with a question. The Medrash tells us in Pashas Tzav, where it speaks about the oil that qualifies for the Menorah, it's Shemen Kosis, Revi Sahin. It's pressed, Kosis, only the first droplet of oil that comes out of the olive, it's the only droplet that qualifies for the Menorah. It's the purest. It's Kosis, Lamor. And it says Lalos Ner Tomid, to have this continuous light burning. Then it speaks over there about where's the menorah. It's Bichutz La Paroches. The menorah is Chutz La Paroches. It's situated on the other side of the Paroches. The Heichol, which was the covered sanctuary, was divided between the Kodesh and Kodesh Kadoshim. The Kodesh Kadoshim, what we call the Kodesh Kadoshim, what was there? That was the Aron. That was the only thing that was there. In the Aron, you had the Luchos, the Shivrei Luchos, and you had the Torah, and it was covered with the Kapores, which had the Kruvim as part of it. On the other side of the curtain, you had the menorah. On the southern wall, you had the shulchan. On the northern wall, and you had Mizbach HaKtores, and you had the golden altar, which was the Mizbach HaKtores, which you sacrificed the incense, that was in the middle. Because of what the menorah represents, it represents Torah Sheba'al Peh, which is the ultimate level of illumination, the elucidation of the Torah Sheba'al, which is Hashem's interpretation of what he said. If that's the case, what should be the correct location of the menorah? It should be alongside the Aron. But yet the Torah makes it a point, Bichutz La Paroches. The menorah should be on the other side of the Paroches, not alongside the Aron. Why? That he needs our light. Because that is the location of the Shekhinah, the Kodesh Kadoshim. So the menorah burning there, when we kindle it, he needs our light. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, no, put it in Chutz La Paroches. Don't make this serious mistake to think, I need your light. Orchem Eini Tzorich. I don't need your light. So if you take a look in the Balaturim over here, El Mul Lapnei Menorah Iru. There were 7 lights on the menorah, and all the wicks to the right and to the left, they faced the center, meaning to minimize the light, to minimize it. So why do we minimize the light? So Rashi, the Balaturim always says, Ki ani eini tzorech le'ora. I don't need the light. You're not doing it for me. Eini tzorech le'ora. Pnei ha-menorah iru. B'gematria v'chiani le'oroch ani tzorech. Do you think I need your light? So the pasuk is alluding the way the wicks direct to the center, and also the gematria, that Hashem doesn't need the light of the menorah. Not to make this mistake. Okay? But you would think, maybe l'orcha nitzorech, that I need your light. Now, the question is, what does that mean? I need your light. We speak about when you bring korbanos, it says, Rech nichoach l'Hashem. You give pleasure to Hashem. What Hashem needs pleasure. Hashem needs nothing. Hashem is perfect on the absolute level. So what do you mean you give Hashem anything? So Rashi always says to Chazal, when it says Rech nichoach l'Hashem, it means that when you do the will of Hashem, now Hashem is able to reward you for your action. Hashem created the world for a purpose, that Klal Yisrael should be beneficiaries of their choices, following his word, which is the Torah. So therefore, that's the Rech Nichoach. Nasa Ritzono, his will has been done, and therefore he could reward you. So what is the basis for us being worthy? It's our own initiative. That we make choices, what we call bechira. Bechira chavshis, free choice. The world, the way Hashem created the world, whether the world rises or falls, is based on the choice of the Jew, how he lives within the context of Torah. That's the way the world functions. So you may think for a moment, and we say every morning in the Psuki de Zimro, Tnu Oz Le'Elokim, we empower God. Tnu Oz, give power to Hashem. We empower Hashem. It means the way the Yesod V'Shersha Avoda explains based on the Zohar, Tnu Oz Le'Elokim means that if we do mitzvahs, we generate a certain energy, and because of that energy, Hashem releases His bracha. You empower Hashem. Moshe Rabbeinu says to Klal Yisrael, "Tzuri lot choteshi." We weaken Hashem. We weaken the tzur, the rock. What do I mean? We weaken Him, meaning He only responds to us and positively if we're worthy. So if we're not worthy, although nothing's beyond Hashem's ability, but the way He set up existence, it's all based on schar v'onish. It's reward and punishment. So by us not being worthy, we're weakening the rock. That's Suri the Yilotcha Teshi. The Yilotcha weakened the tzur, weakened the rock. So David says, Tinu Ozle Lukim. What does Hashem want? You should empower Him. By doing the mitzvahs now, you're empowering Him because now, based on the prescription of existence, He will respond. You're empowering Him to give you bracha. That's the Ozle Lukim. So you could delude yourself to think that everything is based on what we do. It's like Chas v'Sholom, you have a puppeteer, he controls the puppet. Our behavior controls how Hashem acts and responds and functions with His relationship with this existence. Hashem says, I don't need your or. It's true in terms of you being beneficiaries, it's based on your worthiness. But in the ultimate bottom line, Hashem is independent of everything. Hashem is not locked into any specific role. If He wants to override the system, and despite our unworthiness, He wants to maintain existence with His midas chesed. Chesed means indiscriminate kindness. Even the unworthy, for whatever reason, He chooses to infuse the world with bracha, for whatever reason. He's not dependent upon us. I don't need your light. You do, your function normally determines how the world exists. But bottom line, in the ultimate, Hashem makes the decision. When yes, when not, when He works within the system, when He overrides the system. That's l'orchem ein tzorich. So by putting the menorah on the outside of the paroches, although the correct location should have been alongside the oron, because this is the elucidation of Torah Shebachsav, this Torah Sheba'al, but since one could make this mistake, that our lighting activates all the siyata d'shmaya for Torah. So therefore what? It's us. We're opening the door, so to say. We're releasing those energies. You may be lighting the light, but ultimately, the siyata d'shmaya, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving it. And that's what we spoke yesterday. This is Yogata Motzosa. It's waiting for you to take. He put it there for you to take. You just have to go take initiative. What's the initiative? Light the menorah. That's the initiative. But it's there. It's already there from before, just to be taken. You just have to uncover it. That's Yogata Motzosa. Okay? V'daber Hashem lo sheleimor. If you remember, the Or Chaim HaKodesh quoted a Zohar. The only oil that qualified for the menorah was kosis lamor. It had to be crushed lamor. So over there, the Baal Turim says kosis. The spelling alludes to Bayis Rishon, Bayis Sheni. Bayis Rishon was 410 years. Bayis Sheni was what? Was 420 years. So the kosis, the oil that was extracted from the olive, was in effect for what? For the Bais Rishon Bais Sheni. That was the kindling in the menorah. But over there he explains, he cites a Zohar, that this Golus is known as Golus Edom. We're experiencing Golus, it's the longest exile. Edom is not letting go. If you remember the Posuk, it says when Yaakov had the dream in Har Moriah, he saw Malachim Olim v'Yordim. The Malachim were ascending, descending. So the Medrash tells us that each of the Malachim, he saw what? The various Gulusim. He saw the exiles of Klal Yisrael. The Malach of what? Of Bovel ascended 70 rungs. After 70 rungs, came down. That's Olim v'Yordim. He saw the end of that exile, the end of that Golus. Then he saw Purest, the Persian exile, what that was. Then he saw Yavon, the Greek exile. This was Hanukkah. And then he saw Golus Edom. They just kept ascending and ascending, and they're not coming down. And Yaakov was worried. When he saw this, he sees the Malach, the archangel of Edom ascending and ascending, doesn't come down. He's terrified. So Kodesh Baruch Hu says to Yaakov in the Nevuah, if he doesn't come down himself, I will take him down. Because he's going to try to ascend literally to the highest heights and not wanting to come down. Hashem says, I will take him down. You don't have to worry. Even Edom, and this is the longest Golus. This is Akol Kol Yaakov Yadayim Midei Yisov. If the Kol is not Kol Yaakov, as the Medrash tells us, then the Yadayim is Midei Yisov. If the Torah is not sufficient, quantitative and qualitative, Esav is able to what? To flex his muscle. That's Yadayim Midei Yisov. And that's why the exile hasn't ended. But Hashem says, ultimately, it will end, even if I have to take him down myself. So over there, he cites a Zohar, the Orach Chaim HaKodesh, that in whose merit will we redeem from Golus Bavel? B'schus Avram Avinu. Purest Modai was B'schus Yitzchak. Golus Yavon was B'schus Yaakov. The ultimate exile, which we're still experiencing, is B'schus Moshe Rabbeinu. And Moshe Rabbeinu is not allowing his chus to be used until we meet certain prerequisites of Torah. Moshe Rabbeinu's Torah, Moshe Rabbeinu, Torah Tzivah Lanu Moshe, Marosha Kilas Yaakov. Until we meet his qualitative standard, he's not allowing his chus to be used. What do we have to meet? It says kosis. Shemen, the oil of milk represents Torah. It's the purest of Torah. Shemen Zayis Zoch. It's Shemen Zayis Zoch. It's the purest kosis lemor. It's the first droplet that it's extracted for illumination. That's the menorah. Kosis, it's crushed. This is the ultimate level of Yogaita Motzos Tamin. If you go and you toil and you sacrifice for Torah, then Moshe Rabbeinu says, then I will allow my shus to be used. And since Klal Yisrael throughout the years did not sacrifice sufficiently for Torah, therefore Moshe Rabbeinu did not allow his shus to be used. This is the Orach Chaim HaKodesh, cites the Zohar. That's why this exile is the longest exile. You need kosis. The kosis represents the Yogata Motzoso. This is if you're a Amelim b'Torah, you have to be Omel. You have to toil in Torah. We may believe we're toiling, but evidently it's not sufficient. But it's interesting. We find that in the history of Klaus, when did we achieve this level? Chizkiyahu Melech Yehuda, as we always mentioned the Gemara in Sanhedrin, when he became king, his father was an idolater. When he became king, he gathered all Klal Yisrael and he took a Sefer Torah, he took a sword, and he said to Klal Yisrael, I'm giving you a choice. Either you live by the Torah or you can be pierced by the sword. Gave him an ultimatum, which is not much of a choice. It says within 2.5 years, women and children from Don ad Beersheba or Purest, another location, were proficient in Hilchas Tumah V'Taira, in the laws of Tumah purity, spiritual purity. The Jews reached a level of understanding of value that they allowed the grapes on the vine to rot because they too preoccupied studying Torah. And when it came to Milchemes, when Sancheriv attacked, initially Hashem wanted that Sancheriv should be Gog Magog and Chizkiyahu should be the Mashiach, Chizkiyahu Melech Yehuda. That's what Hashem wanted. And Hashem didn't want to interrupt the Torah study of Chizkiyahu. And therefore he sent Gabriel to destroy the Machne Sancheriv in one swoop. And that was supposed to be the end of time. That was Golus Bovel. That was Golus Bovel. Now, what was Chizkiyahu's contribution? The ultimate contribution. It was Kosis. They gave up all the material, and he brought the level of understanding of the value of the spiritual, that all you do, you invest in the spiritual. And therefore, they let the grape rot on the vine. So then they met that prerequisite of Kosis. Therefore, Hashem says, now it's time. Sancheriv will be Gog Magog, Chizkiyahu will be Melech Yehuda. However, there was a problem. As the Gemara says, that Midas Adin came with a claim that Chizkiyahu Melech Yehuda is not worthy to be Mashiach. Why? Because after the victory, the battle, there was no battle. After the Machne Sancheriv was annihilated by Gabriel, who's the Malach Adin, Chizkiyahu didn't say Shira. He should have sung the song, a praise of Hashem for what happened. And because he didn't sing Shira, Midas Adin said, he's not qualified. Midas Arachmim, he would have made the grade. But because Midas Adin is so exacting, he did not. But again, why? It's Moshe Rabbeinu's tus. Moshe Rabbeinu says, unless they meet the prerequisite of Kosis, that they're willing to be crushed for the sake of Torah, which is the ultimate sacrifice, my schus is not going to be used. Chizkiyahu Melech, his generation reached that. He was able to achieve that, but there was a shortcoming. The shortcoming was because Chizkiyahu Melech didn't say Shira, therefore the generation qualified, but he did not qualify to be Mashiach, and therefore was put on hold. And because it's put on hold, and now we're talking about this is Bayish Rishon, we're still waiting. We're still waiting for what? For the coming of Mashiach. Because the Kosis, we haven't reached the Kosis Lamor, plus other schusim. But that's the understanding. That's what the Menorah is. The Menorah is Torah Sheba'al Peh. Ask the question again, very good. Good.
We may not ever be worthy of Mashiach because it always comes down to Midas Hadin, and every generation is not worthy of that. Okay. There's always a lack. Okay.
I always explain. We say in the Shemona Esrei, Melech Ozer Umoshia Umogain. Right? Before we said that, what did we say? We say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Zocheh Chasdei Avos. He remembers the merits, the chesed of the Avos. Umevi Goel, Livnei V'neihem, L'man Shov V'yavo. Just a simple understanding what those words mean. Hashem is Zocheh Chasdei Avos. The Gemara tells us, why all these years, why does Hashem continuously maintain existence? And gives us the context that we have choice. Hashem, the whole purpose is what? We have to make enough right choices. So why is Hashem giving us all this leeway, all the slack, all these years, thousands of years? You know what the answer is? Zocheh Chasdei Avos. In the merit of the Avos, Hashem is giving us every chance that even we on our own merit, we're not worthy, and we should not have choice. Hashem is giving us the choice. Why? Because He's Zocheh Chasdei Avos. When you do an action, due to your own choice, you're the beneficiary of the action. The Ramban quotes a pasuk that at the end of time, there's no Bechira. Hashem will destroy the evil inclination. Then it's Yom Shem Lim Mem Chayfetz. Those days, you're not accredited for your actions because you naturally do good, because there's no longer challenges. Okay? That's what it is. So why do we exist? As we do, that we have choices. However, maybe Goel, but what happens when those, the chesed, the schus avos, become depleted? It's no longer there. Maybe Goel, he'll bring the Goel to their descendants for the sake of his name Bavel. That's the simple understanding. So when's Mashiach coming? When the Chazdei Avos are depleted, are exhausted. Then we say, Melech Ozer. Hashem assists. Assistance means he needs some assistance. Moshiach is a much stronger term. It's then when you're really in a fix, Hashem will even come and extricate you. That's called the Yeshua. That's salvation. Umogain. He will protect you. I mean, seemingly the sequential order is not in order. It should say, Hashem is Mogain. He protects you. You shouldn't even need any assistance. And even if you need assistance, he's there to assist you. Not only is he there to assist you, we need some assistance. Even if you're in dire straits, he's even there. That's the Yeshua. But that's not the order. Orders, Ozer, Moshiach, Umogain. Why does it end with Mogain? So the way I understood it was, we need Mashiach. But you understand, according to Midas Adin, we're never going to make it. If Chizkiyahu Melech Yehuda didn't make it, they're not perfect enough. That's Midas Adin, you have to be perfect. Hashem is Mogain. Hashem will quelch that prosecution. When it's time to come, Mashiach to come, Hashem will be a Mogain. He'll shut him down. He won't allow his Midas Adin to come and make the claim. Melech Ozer Mashiach Umevi Goel Livnei B'neiim. That's Melech Ozer, and that's how Mashiach is going to come. That it's not within Midas Adin, we're not going to make it. And because then it wasn't meant to happen, only you had to reach that perfect level, and they did not reach that perfect level, that's why he was put on hold. Today, we're far beyond that. He has to come, but you have to be worthy. Within the context of Midas HaRachmim, Hashem will allow it to come with the Midas HaRachmim. But the Gemara says, even if it's Kula Chayav, even if the generation is not worthy, Hashem will create a scenario, a setting, where the pain will be so intolerable, it'll force us to do tshuva, which is not the best way to do tshuva. You should do tshuva willingly, not because of the setting is so extremely intolerable, that's why we're doing tshuva. So it's the Dorazil Kuli Zakai, Kuli Chayav. But even the Zakai, even if you're meritorious, it's meritorious within the context of Midas HaRachmim, not within the context of Midas Adin. Balos Chesaneris, Loma Nisko Parshas HaMenorah, Parshas HaNisiyim. Parshas Noso, we spoke about how over a 12-day period, the princes brought gifts, brought karbanos, in honor of the inauguration of the Mishkan. Right? That was the Chanukas HaMishkan. And then afterwards follows Aaron, the kindling of the Menorah. The Shekaro Aaron, Chanukas HaNisiyim. When Aaron saw the inauguration of the Mishkan through the Nesiim, their participation, at that moment, he was slightly he had a feeling of what? Of inadequacy. He did not participate with them. He was not asked to join. The Nesiim, I mean, who's the Nasi of Shevet Levi, the ultimate Nasi? That's Aaron. Aaron represents the Kohanim, the Leviim. So why wasn't he included in the Chanukah? Lo hu v'lo shifto, not him and not a Shevet. Amallah Kodesh Baruch Hu, so Hashem said to him, Chayecha, I swear on your life, your involvement is greater than theirs. Because you will light and kindled the menorahs, the lights of the menorah. Your involvement in that, that's the ultimate level. What they did does not compare to what your participation is. It will be. So there's famous Ramban here. I mean, the only one who's qualified to bring a korban is who? Is only the Kohen. The Nesiim, this is their first and last involvement. But the actual bringing the korban, officiating, is only the Kohen's qualified. Yom Kippur, not only is the Kohen, the Kohen's not even qualified, only the Kohen Gadol is qualified. So who goes into the Holy of Holies? Who brings kapor for Klal Yisrael? That's Aaron. So Aaron's contribution and value for Klal Yisrael is what seemingly surpasses whatever the Nesiim are. So if that's the case, why is he over here? The word offended is not a correct word. Chol shadaito. He feels because he was felt left out because he was not offered or invited to what they were invited to. You know, it's like the ministers, they're invited to the outer sanctums of the king. This person is invited to go into the inner sanctums. So if you're offended, your relationship surpasses whatever their relationship is. So why is he chol shadaita? Why does he feel he has some kind of, it's like a rude awakening that he's not who he thought he was? Because if he was that, he would be included in the Chanukah, in the inauguration of the Mishkan. This famous question Ramban asks. The Ramban says, cites a medrash. It's not speaking about the Menorah and the Beis Hamikdash. It's speaking about the Hanukkah, that the lighting of the lights of Hanukkah is going to surpass even the existence of the Beis Hamikdash. That's how valuable the lighting of the Menorah is. It's the Ramban. We had said that the 13 tribes, 12 received a portion of the land, Shevet Levi did not. So he said in the Moral many times, the Moral says not only are we the numerical value of Echod, but even our spiritual structure is Echod. Aleph, who's the most spiritual of all the tribes? Levi. So Levi is Aleph. Then you had 8 children that were born to the matriarchs. 6 to Leah, 2 to Rachel, so that's Ches. And then you had Dalid, you had 4 children born to the concubines, to Bilhah and Zilpah. That's 4. So not only are we in number 13, which is Echad, but even the spiritual structure of Klal Yisrael, the profile is also Aleph Ches Dalid. That's the Maral of Prague. So Levi is Aleph. Aleph is first and foremost. Why is Aleph first? Why is Levi? Why is Aaron first and foremost? Because in terms of, you have a perfect body, but if the body doesn't have a soul, the body has no value. If there's no heartbeat, there's no life. What is the life throb of a Jew? Klal Yisrael. That's the Torah. Breishis bor Elokim Isa Shemayim v'Soretz. Bishul Torah shenikas reishis. Now, who activates the forces for all the siyata d'shmaya to be able to come upon the truth of Torah? That's Aaron. You can have the profile, you can have the structure, but unless it's infused and the structure has relevance to that level of clarity, and you make that linkage, that Klal Yisrael has no value. The only antidote to the physical world is the Torah. And the closer you get to that, the closer you get to truth, the more you maximize on those challenges. Then you're fortified to be able to deal with that. We just learned, the Gemara says, and Gemara says in Bava Basra, that Talmidei Chachamim, when they do not have to participate in the security of a community, to pay for the security, the police force in that. Why? The Torah itself is the wall. That is the fortress that protects. The Talmid Chacham, he's Torah. He needs no protection. That he possesses Torah, that is the ultimate level. That's his representation. But who activates the energies and the forces that makes the Torah available to us to come upon the truth of Torah. If you study Torah, you don't come upon its truth, you miss the boat. Chosom b'shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu was emes. God's signet is truth. So how do you attach to that truth? Only through Torah. Emes Kanev al Timkor. Shlomo says, the innateness of Torah is emes. Emes Kanev al Timkor. That's truth. As a result of that, the only way we can connect to that truth, which is Hashem, which is truth on the absolute level, is only through the Torah. Now, who gives us relevance to that truth? That's Aro. That's Halos Chesaneros. That's how it comes about. Therefore, Shelcho Gedolim Shalohem. You know, I can give you the most sophisticated computer system, but if you don't have the code to activate the system, it's all worthless. You have potential, but you can't get off the ground. How do you get it out of the starting gate? What activates the system? That's the kindling of the menorah. That's Shelchon Gedolim Shem. Avodas Yom Kippurim, that's not what it's about. Korbanos is not what it's about. What it's about is Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam. The Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam, that's all contingent on Balos Chasaneros. That's what Hashem is saying to Aaron. I said last week, we read about the Nazir. And why does the Torah juxtapose the Nazir to the Sota? So Rashi cites the Gemara. Haro Sota Bilkulo, the Kilkula, a person who sees the tragic end of the one woman who committed adultery. What happens to her, how she dies. It's the most gruesome type of death. So when you see that, you should enter into a state of Naziratehood. Because what brought that about? The wine. You know, it started with a social drink, and unfortunately it ended with tragedy. The woman committed adultery. Therefore, so I asked the question, if that's the case, make it neder that all grapes and wine, grape derivatives are off limits. What do you have to enter into a state of nazir? That it's such a holy state that you're not even permitted to contaminate to the 7 closest relatives like a Kohen Gadol. That's how holy he is. He's not permitted to cut his hair. If the whole issue is the grape, and you saw what drinking, what it brings to, just take an oath, swear it off, and you'll be bound with a shur, you'll be bound with a neder. Why enter into a state of nazirus? That's the question I asked. Always use a term. You can believe in the Yud Gimel Ikrei Emunah, the 13 tenets of Jewish belief. We do. A person, schar v'onesh, is one of the 13 tenets of Jewish belief. And we all believe person is fully committed to it. And the Ramban says that 1 nanosecond of Gehenna is more painful than all the Yisur Eov, all the trials and tribulation of Eov. Okay? And yet, although we know it, the times we succumb and we do things we shouldn't do, whether it's Lashon Hara or other things we do. But if the punishment is so extremely severe, we can't even relate to whatever that punishment is. It surpasses anything in the physical world. So why are we doing it? We believe that is a reality. So what's the answer? The two things. You could believe something that's all in the abstract. To internalize something, internalization is another level. Internalize means that's real time. When you internalize it, that's the real thing. The real thing. We always say, Ezel Chocham HaRos HaNolad. Who's a Chocham? He sees the ramifications of one's actions, one's behavior. It doesn't say, Ezel Chocham HaMaven HaNolad. You understand the ramifications. Understanding is abstract. Roeh, seeing is believing. Seeing is reality. The Chacham, who's a true Chacham, it's not only it could happen, it happened. He's already experiencing it as if it happened. He sees it. Now, how do you take something from understand to make it into a reality? To internalize it. So the way it's done, if a person commits his life that Torah says keva and malachtas arai on a qualitative level, the person spiritualizes himself. Every action, even the mundane, is infused with spirituality. You eat l'shem shamayim, you sleep l'shem shamayim. So the Rambam says Hilchos Deos that a person could even do the most mundane act, and every moment of his life he's living for the sake of God. Kol pol Hashem l'maneyu. You eat for the sake of Hashem, to be healthy, to be able to serve Hashem. You procreate for that, and every moment of your life is a mitzvah. So if a person lives his life that way, you become spiritualized. When you become spiritualized, you can internalize things. It's no longer abstract. It's no longer outside of yourself. It's internalized. Seeing what the consequence of drinking wine is, that doesn't allow you to internalize. I understand. When you enter into a state of Nazirus, that's a state of Kedusha, which is the equivalent of the Kohen Gadol, and even surpasses it. Yeah, it's a state of purity that's more than you're not permitted to drink wine. Because you're in that state, that's why you're not permitted to drink wine. And only then can you internalize all the ill effects of wine to stay away from it at a level that you wouldn't dare go near it because you appreciate it and fully grasp it. That's why it's not enough just to make a net or a shua that you're not going to drink the wine, because that's not enough. That it should become part and parcel and literally affect you so deeply, that's only when you enter the state of Nazirus. We're physical beings. The only thing that could spiritualize us, to take the physical, the mundane, with flesh and blood, is by, how do you spiritualize? You take, the Chofetz Chaim writes, you take an animal, an unintelligible creature, and you consecrate it. It's all flesh and bones, and blood and sinews. But when you designate it for Hashem, it becomes an entity of holiness. To something which is the most earthy representation of existence. When you consecrate it, you dedicate it, it becomes holy. Now it's fit for the Mizbeach. That's called Kedushas HaGuf. If a human being goes and you dedicate your life, and you consecrate your life, and every aspect of your life is consecrated for Hashem, you become an object of holiness. The person himself becomes an object of holiness. The Gemara says in Brachos that if a person who gives food to a Talmud Chacham or wine to a Talmud Chacham, as if he brought bikurim, as if he brought libations on the Mizbeach. When he drinks that wine, it's like you're pouring libations on the Mizbeach, and like you're bringing bikurim to the Beis Hamikdash. But he's a physical being. No, he's physical. But his level of, his dimension of representation, he's like the Mizbeach. Because the way he's lived his life, that every aspect, we're talking about Talmud Tochel Kibaro, that his external is no different than his internal. There's a total consistency in his life. When a person's that, you fully absorb everything. The absorption is to the core of the person. And that's the Yazer Atzman Eyayin.